Du Bois Strong hosted its annual luncheon today. My report from the luncheon, plus Kimball International has announced 3 promotions in its electronics division. More details on that, and Purdue Extension educator Jan Dugan is tonight's guest on Inform. All of that and much more is up next here on the 18 WJTS News. Hello, I'm Bradford Raths. We begin tonight with a former Crane employee being sentenced to federal prison time for using a government credit card to make personal purchases. The U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of Indiana says 35-year-old Jason Emmons of Jasper pleaded guilty back on March 17th in U.S. District Court in Evansville to making the unauthorized purchases. Those purchases were paid for by the U.S. Department of Defense. Federal documents filed back in October of last year say the thefts occurred between January of 2010 and September of 2012. They involved notebook computers, televisions, professional-grade sound and DJ equipment, digital cameras, MP3 players, printers, electronics, and firearms. Altogether, around $159,000 in purchases for personal items were made. They say Emmons made the purchases while working as a U.S. Army production facilitator at Crane. The items were found when a search warrant was executed at Emmons' home back on October 19th of 2012 and at Emmons' storage unit on October 24th of that same year. Other items were recovered from Emmons on November 8th of 2012. Emmons forfeited the stolen property and will be on supervised probation for 3 years following his release from prison. A local economic development group held its annual luncheon today. Du Bois Strong held its luncheon from 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. today at the Huntingburg Events Center. I stopped by the luncheon to talk with Du Bois Strong Board Chairman, Dr. Alan Johnson. So here we are with Dr. Johnson. So, Doctor, talking about the future for Du Bois Strong, you talk about bringing in more people to fill jobs. Let's start with that.
We're talking about bringing in more people because there are jobs here already that are going unfilled. The typical economic development approach is to find companies to bring in jobs and establish here. We don't have that problem. We have companies here who have plans over the next 2 to 3 years to add anywhere up to 1,000 new jobs, and we don't have the people to fill them. So we need to grow the population. That means we need to get into dealing with issues of housing. If people move in, where are they going to live? There's a shortage right now of moderately priced housing.
Another interesting point you brought up was the governor's agenda and how it dovetails with your own.
The governor is exactly in line with the kinds of things we've been talking with since before he published that. Higher education for everyone in technical areas, career and technical education, having places where people want to live, placemaking, finding better sources of capital for business startups.
You also talked about career and technical education. Just how important is that as we move forward?
Career and technical education is a strong alternative in schools for leading students into areas that involve technology and getting them established in a career field. It doesn't mean they can't go for a bachelor's degree, but it means they have an opportunity to get their hands into a career field, try it out, see if it's going to work for them.
And my final question for you, the technology as a driving force going forward.
Technology is very much a driving force. Our speaker today talked about disruptive technologies, artificial intelligence, robotics, self-driving cars. All of that is in our future, and we need to be able to deal with it.
All right, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
We also want to congratulate a Jasper businessman who was honored with a prestigious award earlier today. Mike Braun, the owner of Meyer Distributing, was honored earlier today with the 2014 Entrepreneur of the Year Award during the luncheon. Braun started up his business back in the mid-1980s, and the business has seen an average growth rate of 18% in the years that he has owned it. That number has been at around 24% since 2009. Braun says keeping a business going this long requires staying balanced.
Regardless of what your idea is, you got to make sure it pays for itself over time. And it's a tricky balance between spending enough and not too much. So I had that feel, and you're never really vindicated until you've done that a few years, and once your enterprise really starts clicking, it uses a lot of capital. So the other thing you got to be willing to do is reinvest if you want to grow your business.
Braun is a 1972 graduate of Jasper High School. He earned his bachelor's degree from Wabash College in 1976 and later went to business school at Harvard. He started his career as an employee at Aristocraft Cabinets before deciding that he wanted to own his own business. Braun currently serves on several different economic boards, including the I-67 Development Corporation. Turning our attention to other headlines now, Jasper-based Kimball International has announced 3 new officers in its electronics division. Yesterday, the company announced that Julie Duchess, Sandy Smith, and Janusz Kasperzik have all been promoted to new roles within Kimball Electronics Group. The appointments originally became effective on Monday, and officials say the appointments reflect the company's commitment to leadership development and recognition of personal achievements and contributions. Duchess will now serve as Vice President of Human Resources for Kimball Electronics. The 62-year-old Jasper resident joined Kimball back in 1975 and has served as Director of Human Resources for Kimball since 1997. Meanwhile, Smith has been promoted to Vice President of Information Technology. The 51-year-old Smith joined Kimball in 1987 in the Customer Service Department before moving to the Information Technology Support section. She currently serves as Director of Systems Support, a job that she's had since 2004. And finally, Kasperzik will now be serving as Kimball Electronics' Vice President of European Operations. He originally joined Kimball in 2000 and began as Operations Manager for the company's manufacturing facility in Poznan. He is currently the General Manager of Kimball Electronics Poland, a role that he has had since 2005. In a news release, Kimball Electronics Group President Don Sharon says the 3 promotions were earned through years of service and contributions by each individual. He says he is confident that the 3 will continue to work hard going forward. The promotions come as Kimball prepares to spin off Kimball Electronics as an independent, publicly traded company. That plan was announced back in January, and the spin-off is set to occur later this fall. A report published by Raymond James & Associates says Jasper-based German-American Bancorp has been recognized as being among the top 10% of U.S. community banks. That designation is based on the company's inclusion as a member of the 2nd annual Raymond James Community Bankers Cup. Recipients of the Cup were identified based on profitability, operational efficiency, and balance sheet metrics. The pool of community banks considered for recognition includes all exchange-traded domestic banks, excluding mutual holding companies and potential acquisition targets, that had total assets between $500 million and $10 billion as of December 31st. More than 300 community banks were analyzed for the award. The Du Bois County Health Department spent some time earlier today preparing for large-scale health crises. This morning, officials with the department trained volunteers from the community on proper procedure in the event of a large-scale health event. These can range from large-scale disease outbreaks to bioterrorism efforts. The training was held at Jasper Middle School, and students were the patients used to help the volunteers learn the process. Donna Oding with the Du Bois County Health Department says it's important to get everyone up to speed in the event of a real emergency.
We would be looking at anybody that had been exposed to whatever the incident was. Today we are testing tularemia, so we would have a very short window of time to dispense the medication to the affected individuals. So that's why we are testing it today. It's very convenient for us, and it's a great cooperation with us in the school that they allow us to use our students.
Oding says she is appreciative of the volunteers and partners that helped out this morning. Now, during any public health emergency, the health department may need to provide antibiotics or vaccines at point of dispensing locations. The POD's sole purpose is to distribute medicines to large numbers of people in an emergency as quickly as possible to prevent illness. Finally this evening, a couple of prestigious honors were bestowed upon folks in our viewing area recently. We begin with a senior at North Davies High School getting a nice gift towards his college education. Yesterday, Braden Lawyer was announced as a recipient of the Lilly Endowment Community Scholarship during a special ceremony at the high school gym. The scholarship will cover Lawyer's full tuition costs to go wherever he decides to go to college. He will also get a $900 yearly stipend that can be used for books and other needed materials. Lawyer says he plans to attend Purdue University and study pre-medicine, health and human sciences. During his time at North Davies, Lawyer has participated in several different activities. These include band, choir, and serving as president of this year's senior class, among others. Lawyers was the winning application out of more than 25 that were submitted by Daviess County students, and he is one of 142 students across the state to win the Lilly Scholarship. Then, an elementary teacher in the Greater Jasper School District received a prestigious honor of her own. Ireland Elementary first grade teacher Cheryl Sermersheim was named as the 2013 winner of the Frank and Judy O'Bannon Heritage Engagement Award. That award, which is presented by the University of Southern Indiana's Historic Southern Indiana Project, honors someone who serves as a model of community education activities. Sermersheim was recognized for her efforts to include children and youth in the progress of the Du Bois County Museum as it pertains to the museum's purpose and mission. She contributed to the Main Street Du Bois County exhibit and the Little Pioneers interactive children feature at the museum. Sermersheim was nominated for the O'Bannon Award by Vice President and Collections Chair Marianne Hayes. All right, coming up after the break, your local forecast, sports with Kurt Buchsel, and Inform with Purdue Extension educator Jan Dugan. That's all up next here on the 18 WJTS News. Local people watching local people.